If you're watching this, it is because you missed our genetics vocab. There's an assignment in Schoology. All you gotta do is fill in the words. The words are all presented to you in this. Pretty simple. So, first one, gene. The gene is anything, it's inherited from your parents and it controls traits. So you have genes that contribute your eye color, your hair color, how tall you are, how long your pinky toe is. All of that you have genes for. That's not to say environment doesn't play a role. You have a gene that says how tall you're going to be. However, if you don't receive adequate nutrition, you're not going to be as tall. You have a trait that gene that decides how big your pinky toe is going to be. If you drop a bowling ball on that pinky toe, it might not grow as big as your gene says it should. So all of those things can be influenced, but on the basic level, you are given a gene to tell you or to tell your body how things are supposed to be in optimal circumstances. An allele is that alternate form of gene. So if we look at eye color for a second, there's a bunch of different alleles for eye color. Blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes, hazel eyes. Eye color is actually a really complicated one to do using simple genetics, but we'll get to that. So allele is your second word. Your third word is going to be Mendelian genetics. Now, Mendelian genetics is that basic Punnett squares that you're learning in life science or that you have learned in life science. They're simplified, and yes, some traits follow that Mendelian genetics, those Punnett squares. There are some traits that don't. For a 7th grade purpose, knowing and understanding Punnett squares, a basic Punnett square, is all I expect. Yes, as I said, things get more complicated than that, but basic Mendelian genetics with Punnett squares. Mendelian genetics was discovered by a monk. His name was Gregor Mendel. He experimented on pea plants, and this is what he discovered. As I said, he chose some simple traits that had simple rules. If we went farther, there is more complicated traits and rules that go with that. Now, again, using Mendelian genetics, there are 2 types of alleles. There's a dominant allele and a recessive allele. Dominants are alleles that show up whether the same or different allele is present. So, for example, if we look at a flower, we've got a red flower and a white flower. Say the red is dominant. That dominant red is going to be represented by an uppercase R. So that uppercase R is going to show up no matter what else is present. If that uppercase R is present with another uppercase R, the flower is going to be red. If that uppercase R is present with a lowercase r, that flower is going to be red. On the other hand, a recessive gene, say white was that recessive, this allele only shows up when the different allele is not present. So if you have a uppercase R and a lowercase r, it's going to be red. You have to have 2 lowercase r's for that flower to be white. Homozygous are when 2 alleles are the same. So this can either be uppercase r's, 2 uppercase r's, or different letters for different traits. But going back to our flower example, this could be 2 uppercase r's for a red flower or 2 lowercase r's for a white flower. On the flip side, there's heterozygous, which are 2 alleles that are different. So that would be when we have that uppercase R and that lowercase r. And if we have that uppercase R and that lowercase r, what color is the flower going to be? Red. It's not going to be pink. That's another type of genetics that you will definitely learn about in high school. Maybe we'll touch on later. But for right now, all I want you to know is that if it's dominant, it'll show up if it's present. If it is recessive, it'll only show up if the dominant is not present. So, genotype is our next word. And that's what the genes say. So, when you're making the Punnett square, the genotype is the letters. You've got your Punnett square all drawn out. You've got big R's and little r's. Those big R's and little r's are the genotype. On the flip side, phenotype is what's physically displayed. So if you are seeing a red flower, you don't know what the genotype is. You don't know if it's big R, little r, or big R, big R. If you see a white flower, you know that the genotype is going to be little r, little r. But if you see a red flower, it could be either one. The phenotype is just what is physically displayed. So if I say, what is the genotype? That's when you're going to give me letters. And when I say what the phenotype is, that's when you're going to tell me what you see. So, how I remember it is genotype are the genes. Phenotype is what's physically displayed. Pheno, physical, they both start with the PH sound. Geno, genes, like it connects, it makes sense. And we're not going to worry about codominance. So, I'm going to pop back. Whoops, I got Siri going. We're not going to worry about codominance because that's deeper than I want to go with you guys, at least right now. So, those are the vocab words that I want you to focus on. And then we're going to learn about some DNA. Have a great day.